And with all of that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Microsoft. And Matt, I know you're from Microsoft with us today. You have a little bit of extra time if you have extra stuff you'd like to show. If not, we are always happy to show stuff too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I will go ahead and share my screen here. So pardon me just a moment while I get that set up. But really happy to be here today. Thanks for having us. I'll go through a brief session on some of the different Microsoft learning tools that we have available with a focus on stuff that's going to be accessible to students through their Chromebooks. A lot of the features that I'll showcase are available regardless of platform. So my name's Matt. I'm the one that'll be presenting. I also have my colleague Joyce here. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A and she'll do her best to answer those. And I'll hang around a little bit at the end too in case there's any questions after my session's over. I'm going to focus on the Immersive Reader and show you where we can access that. I'll provide a brief demonstration and then go through a few of the different places we can access Immersive Reader in Microsoft 365. And then I'm going to spend a bit of time looking at Word Online to show you how we can use Editor and Dictate to strengthen our writing skills. So Immersive Reader is a reading decoding tool that helps improve reading comprehension by increasing fluency for English language learners or readers of other languages. It can offer text decoding solutions for students with learning differences such as dyslexia. It helps to build confidence for emerging readers as well that might be trying to learn to read at higher levels. And it provides a robust translation tool as well. We have support for over 60 different languages with Immersive Reader, and I'm really looking forward to showing how that works. Time permitting, I'm going to showcase editor and dictation in full. Dictation, we've made great strides in improving the accuracy and have multi-language support. So I'll go through a brief demonstration of what dictation looks like. And then I also want to showcase Microsoft Editor. It's not just the Word desktop application now. We've got that available in Word Online. Think of it as a next generation spell check. So it'll look for things like brevity and conciseness, formality of language, and inclusive language as well to make sure that we're bringing out our best writer. I'll go ahead and end our slides here so we can dive into a demonstration. First thing I'm going to do is let's pop over to Teams. I want to showcase the Immersive Reader, and Immersive Reader is available just about everywhere within Microsoft 365. So I'll demonstrate it in OneNote here, but then after I'm done with the demonstration, show you a few of the other programs and where we can find it. I'm here in OneNote in the View tab, and I have Immersive Reader available in our ribbon. So I've got some text here, just a sample physical geography page. We've got some navigation here on the side. You know, if we're looking at it within Teams, we'll have the Teams client here. But even if I just had the OneNote application open, of course, you've got your different notebooks and different sections there. When we open up Immersive Reader, what it does is it eliminates all the navigation and any other potential distractions. I'll go ahead and make it full screen so we can see it a bit easier. And what it does is it allows us to manipulate the appearance of the text to make it a bit more easy to read. So I'll walk through the features from left to right, starting at the bottom. The first feature that we have here is a narrator. So I'll go ahead and hit play.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography.
Now you'll notice that's reading pretty quickly, but if I come over here to voice settings to the right of the play button, I have the ability to adjust the speed at which the narrator is reading this aloud. So this student benefits from learning at a 1.25 times speed. Maybe it helps them focus a little bit easier on the material, but maybe some other students might benefit from a reduced reading speed. We can go to half speed and I'll play what that sounds like.
Geography. Landforms can be mountains and
So this could potentially help with pronunciation of words or even just helping students learn or read at a pace they're more comfortable with. We can also choose between a female and male voice and still adjust the speed. It goes down to half speed and up to 2.5 times speed. Over here on the right side, we've got 3 different icons there. The first here is the text preferences. So that's the 2 A's there. Apologies, that's cut off a little bit there. But I'll go ahead and bring that over here, this is our text preferences pane, and it allows us to adjust the appearance of some of the text that we have on screen. I've got a slider that allows me to adjust the size of this text here. And then I also have this increase spacing toggle. I'm going to briefly turn it off here. I'm actually going to turn off quite a few of the options we have here so we can see them in action. So let me come back here. We've got the increased spacing disabled currently, and I'll go ahead and toggle it back on. What it does is it just creates a little bit more space in between each character, which can improve character recognition and reading comprehension. No matter what font the original text is in, whether it's in OneNote or Word or any other program that supports Immersive Reader, you always have 3 different fonts that the user can choose from: Calibri, Sitka, and Comic Sans. Microsoft Education's done a lot of work with different associations that work with students and learners that might be learning with something like dyslexia, and have found that these font types, these sans serif fonts, improve reading comprehension and reading accuracy and can help with character recognition. So regardless of whatever font the original text is presented in, you'll always have these 3 fonts available. And I like keeping this in mind too, because when I'm writing emails, creating documents, I try to make things as inclusive as possible. So I always try to use Calibri or Sitka whenever I'm sharing stuff out with people, either within Microsoft or even outside when I work with students and educators. Down below, we've also got several different colored themes. So by default, we just have our standard white background, but we've got a high contrast dark theme available. We've got a sepia color tone, and then we've got about 18 different pastel colors. Studies have shown that a pastel color can kind of help ease the mind and increase concentration and focus, and can also improve reading fluency as well. You'll notice that as I jumped into the notebook, some of these features were already toggled on. One of my favorite features about OneNote and OneNote Class Notebook is that it remembers the user's preferences. So if, say, I am a student that benefits from having this text at 48-point font, and I like having the increased spacing, and I'd like to have everything read to me in Sitka with this green background, it'll remember that every subsequent time I go to use Immersive Reader. I don't have to alter all these options every single time I open up a page. Moving back up to the top right here, there's an icon here. It's got 4 lines and a little wand icon there, and those are our grammar options. One option that we can toggle is the ability to separate words syllabically. So I'll toggle that on, and for every multiple syllable word, there's a dot in between each syllable. So that might help break down a word to help with pronunciation, or can make it a bit easier for users to focus and understand on the word that's presented on screen. We've also got these parts of speech. So these are color-coded parts of speech. I can toggle as many or as few as I'd like to have on at once. And if I have the show labels feature toggled on, you'll see we get a brief initial giving us a color-coded indication of whether this is a noun, a verb, an adverb, or an adjective. And I also can choose the color coding based on my personal preferences. You know, certainly if you're using one of those pastel color backgrounds, some of these colors might be really difficult to read if it's a similar color background. So with any of these parts of speech, I can click this box and I have 12 different colors that I can pick from. So based on personal preference, I can configure this to suit my learning needs. I'll come back up to the top right. We've also got this book icon. That's going to be reading preferences. And we've got a few different options here to help decode the text as well. The first is going to be line focus. So I'm going to toggle that on and collapse the pane briefly here. What this is a tool that helps further eliminate distractions and allows students to look at text in smaller digestible chunks. So I can use the arrows here on the right side of my screen to go through and read this one line at a time. And this works in conjunction with our narrator as well.
Valleys, plains, and plateaus are also landforms.
Coming back up to reading preferences, let's say I start to build confidence and I'd like to see if maybe I can tackle maybe 3 lines at a time. I can expand line focus to showcase 3 lines at once. And depending on the size of your text, you even have the option to show 5 lines of text. I have the larger font on right now, so that's grayed out. But if I reduce the size of the font here, you'll see that the 5 lines of text is available as well. I'm going to go ahead and disable line focus just so it's a little bit easier to see the rest of the features. We've also got a picture dictionary, which I really like. I'll go ahead and click on one of the words here. And you'll see it's not going to work for absolutely every single word in a document, but there are thousands of words that are supported by Picture Dictionary. And what it does is provides the user with some kind of image or diagram that allows them to associate a definition with that word. And if I had a word that might have multiple potential meanings, like say the word school, I might see an image of a classroom as well as an image of a group of fish. So if there are synonyms, the user will be presented with all those different options. When we use the picture dictionary, we can also hear the audio cue for that particular word.
Seasons.
So we can hear that pronunciation and use that as an assistive tool. I'll come back up to reading preferences to also showcase the translate tool. Now, as I clicked through some of those words, you kind of already saw it in action. I have over 60 different languages available here that we can use to help with people that might be learning English and building confidence there, or maybe speak another language at home that they're more comfortable with. Over 60 different languages. I'll go ahead and maybe keep it with Spanish and click on these words so we can not only see the English word and the pronunciation, but I can see the translated word
Tierra.
as well as the pronunciation for that translation. Not all of the 60 plus languages have the audio available, but the overwhelming majority of them do. And Microsoft's continuing to build out support so that we can have the narrator available in all these different languages. Let's say I don't want to just break it down one word at a time, but I'd prefer to actually have the entire passage translated. That's available as well. I can just toggle this document toggle here. And what it does is it takes that entire page, that entire passage, maybe it's a longer paper, and gives us the ability to read the entire thing in the translated language in Immersive Reader. And I know it's a bit difficult to see here, but I can bounce between the original English text or whatever language the original text was presented in, and then I can toggle to the translated text as well. And you'll notice that all the other features that I showcased, the color-coded parts of speech, syllabic separation, the character spacing, are all still carried over with that translated tool. There's a handful of languages that might not support every single one of these features, but with a lot of the languages, all of these features will still apply, including the narrator.
El estudio de las formas terrestres de la Tierra se llama geografía física.
So really great tool. Love being able to use that. And the thing that I find really valuable about it is that it's available in just about every single thing that we have within Microsoft. And I use the example of OneNote and OneNote Class Notebook as an example, because if students are using that, I know sometimes maybe because they're shy, they may not want to ask for additional assistance, or they're worried about any kind of stigma that's associated with using these assistive tools. This is available at their own fingertips, and it is done outside of the viewpoint of any of their peers. So if they are feeling any kind of shyness or hesitancy to use these tools, they can access them in their own student notebook or through their own OneNote without the educator having to do any additional preparation, and they can customize it to their own needs to toggle on as many or as few of these features as they'd like. Once they're done utilizing the Immersive Reader, they can just click the back button in the top left corner, and it'll return them to the conventional OneNote view. We've got Immersive Reader available in quite a few different programs, so I'll briefly showcase some of the other ones we have available. If a student is using Microsoft Edge, which is available to, it should be available for Chromebooks. I'll go ahead and use, say, a website, for example. Microsoft Edge is a web browser based on Chrome, so it should be compatible with the Chromebooks. But if I go to most websites, Up here in the URL bar where my mouse is at the top, I've got a couple buttons to the right of where the URL is. I have the read aloud feature. That's the A with the 2 semicircles. That gives us access to the narrative voice.
Geography. Print.
So I can go ahead and click through the web page and have that voice read aloud to me. And I've got the voice options available here on the right side, so I can still adjust the speed of the voice. But I also have the immersive reader available right here. That's the book icon with the speaker coming off of it. If I click that, it takes our website and eliminates any of the UI or any of the navigation, the pop-up ads, anything that might serve as a distraction, and allows the user to just focus on the text at hand. And I have all those same options available to me, even if the buttons themselves look a little bit different. Our narrator's available in the read aloud section.
Geography.
And I still have the voice options to choose from a variety of different voices. We have several different translations and region-specific translations available there. I've also got the text preferences where I can increase the spacing and the text size. I could choose between those 3 fonts. I can even choose the column width if maybe I'd prefer to have fewer words on the screen to make it more digestible. Grammar tools still allows us to color code those parts of speech and create that syllabic separation. And reading preferences still gives us the opportunity to utilize line focus, the picture dictionary, or to translate this entire page in those over 60 different languages that we have available. And then I can just click the immersive reader button up here at the top of our URL to return back to the standard web page view if I'd like to. I also have the ability to use Immersive Reader in something like Microsoft Word. So if I come over here to Microsoft Word, over in the View tab, we've got Immersive Reader available right here in the ribbon. And that'll give you a more clear-cut view of those buttons that I was having difficulty showing in Teams. We've got the text preferences, grammar tools, and reading preferences available there. We can just click the back arrow there on the left side to return to our standard Word view there as well. So for most Microsoft programs that offer Immersive Reader, if you go to the View tab, Immersive Reader should be available there towards the left-hand side of your ribbon. Another thing I want to showcase here, I kind of already have it open. It's called Microsoft Editor. So we'll use this Immersive Reader document. Editor is available in the Review tab. It's available in Outlook as well, but it's going to be more commonly used in Word, and it's going to be available there on the left-hand side. If I click the Editor button, it opens up a blade on the right side that shows us some of the categories that this next level spell check uses to assess the writing and to kind of bring out the most clear and best writing voice for the student that might be using this. We get a score from 0 to 100. The higher the score, the fewer errors that are pointed out. And I have the ability to choose between 3 different categories: formal, professional, and casual. I'll click on casual and you'll see that because there are fewer criteria under the casual writing category, the editor score pops up. If I go back to formal, that editor score is going to drop a bit because there are some additional criteria available in the refinement section that are being flagged as suggested improvements or errors. Certainly in the corrections section, we hopefully are familiar with the way that the spell check works. I can click on these individual categories and it will highlight the words that are spelled incorrectly and suggest proper spellings. If there's a word that is close, a misspelled word that's close to a few different potential options, it'll suggest multiple different options there. And then we've also got grammar. I don't have any grammar errors in this document, but if maybe a verb's not in the correct tense, or maybe the verb should be coming before the subject or the noun rather than after the noun, those kind of errors will be flagged in grammar. We've got additional features that are available here, though. Acronyms will flag, especially in a formal writing, if we're using abbreviations or acronyms, formal writing might ask that we completely spell out the name of that organization or the name of that agreement, whatever the case may be that we're using that acronym for. We also have a clarity section. So what we did when we click on this, it will highlight in kind of a purple color areas of the text or the document that could use a little bit of refinement. So this one's suggesting that we replace the adverb, and it gives us a suggestion here. So it's not only providing a suggestion for the alteration we should make to the sentence, but gives a brief explanation as to why. And I can use the arrows here at the bottom to scroll through. So for both of these, it's just adverb placement, but there might be other things where maybe it's not clear that the verb is associated to the proper subject within the sentence. So if there's any kind of confusion there, that would be flagged in the clarity section. Conciseness, we'll take a look at things and suggest possible diction alternatives that we can use to maybe reduce the word count and improve the clarity of our sentences. So rather than an added bonus, we can go ahead and just reduce that to a bonus to, I know some students like to bolster that word count if there's maybe a requirement there for an assignment, but this helps refine our writing voice and makes our writing a bit more clear. There are some additional categories here. Formality is going to take a look at things and say, if I have the number 56 in a document, it's going to request that we spell out the words 56 rather than using the digits 5 and 6. Inclusiveness is going to take a look at the things like, rather than saying you guys, maybe saying you all, trying to use more inclusive language. Perspectives may want to make sure that you're consistently writing in the first person or the second person or the third person. Punctuation conventions, I can come over here. This is one I'm guilty of quite a bit. I'm still have a bad habit of putting 2 spaces at the end of every period, so it'll flag things like that. I am also prone to overusing a semicolon, so editor lets me know when I'm doing that a bit too often. We've also got some additional categories for sensitive geopolitical references or vocabulary. Let's say I'm overusing a word in the paper that I'm writing. Editor will make suggestions for synonyms that I could use to break up the monotony of the language that I'm using. Down here below, there's a similarity score here as well. Now, I don't have a source cited in this particular document, but what this does is it takes a look at any sources that are cited in maybe say something like a research paper. And if maybe there's a quote that's inserted, but there's no quotation marks around it, it's an attempt at paraphrasing that's a bit too close to the original source material, editor's going to flag that and make suggestions to either rephrase the paraphrase or at least attribute a quote directly to whatever source is being referenced within the document. So that's our editor. That's available in the review tab of Word Online, kind of that next level spell check. And I appreciate the fact that it goes a bit beyond the standard spelling and grammar options that we've seen in the past. The final thing I'd like to showcase briefly, I'll open up a new document here, is our dictate tool. Dictate's available in PowerPoint Online, Word Online, and Outlook. I'm going to demonstrate it in Word because it's also available in OneNote as well. So if students are using OneNote Class Notebook, it's going to be available. It's always available in the Home tab. I've got a microphone icon available right here. I'll go ahead and click that to show you how it works. This is an example of dictation in Microsoft Word, period. I have the ability to create entire documents with my voice, comma, without having to make any alterations or insert any punctuation with the keyboard, period. All right. Tripped me out a little bit there because it was taking a little long there. It does take a few seconds for it to kind of parse the entire sentence that you're using to make sure it's capitalizing any proper nouns or to make sure that it's capturing your entire dictation there. But I can toggle that on or off by clicking the microphone button here at any point in time. You may have noticed that I was also able to insert punctuation using my voice as well. I can come over here to the help button, that's the question mark, it opens up a blade on the right side that gives me a kind of catalog of all the different voice commands that are available. So I can create a bulleted list using my voice. I could insert mathematical symbols if maybe I'm using my voice to create a document, maybe for like a math assignment. I can go ahead and delete text or create a new paragraph, all using my voice. We have this blade over here on the right side that shows the user all the different commands that can be used to make those document changes. I also have this settings cog over here on the right side where I have the ability to choose my spoken language. We have roughly 15 languages fully supported and another 30 or so that are in preview. The preview languages are still going to be quite accurate, but we're continuing to use machine learning to improve the accuracy. And once Microsoft feels that it's at a sufficient level, they'll move those preview languages into the fully supported category. I also have the ability to enable auto punctuation. So if I don't want to vocalize any of the commas or the periods or the new lines, I can toggle this on, and Dictate does a very good job of inserting that punctuation for me. I personally like inserting it on my own, but it does a great job. We've made great strides with Windows and Microsoft 365 to try to improve the accuracy there and making sure that any kind of punctuation that needs to be inserted is done so intelligently. So thanks for taking a tour with me on all those tools. Those are all available using the web browser, whether you're on a Chromebook or any kind of a Windows or Apple computer. So I hope that's really helpful. I'll hang out to see if there's any questions in the Q&A, but thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any resources you'll be sharing with me that I can send to our lovely attendees after the webinar today?
Absolutely. I think Joyce popped a few in the Q&A, and we'll pop a few more, and I can also send out an email to you so that we have some additional resources that we can share out.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll make sure to share those with you guys. In addition to the recording, I'll share the recording tomorrow, and I'll include any resources that Microsoft sends over. Let me go ahead and reshare my screen here.